Hey, Scott and Greg, why don't you give us a quick recap of this past week with Supply Chain Now Radio?
Hey Clay, thanks for asking. This week we talked with John Haber, the CEO of Spend Management Experts, and he shared with us some of the complexities and mysteries of small package shipping. We also had an episode where we interviewed Javier Diaz de Leon, the Consul General of Mexico to Atlanta, and learned a lot about USMCA trade between Atlanta and Georgia, which is in the double-digit billions, and trade generally with the states, and a lot to learn there.
And Greg, that took place at the Georgia Manufacturing Summit, where you also sat down with Daniel McKinnon with MHI, who are the powerhouse team behind Modex 2020, which is coming back to Atlanta in March. And Daniel kind of walked through why folks should consider attending Modex. We're proud to be broadcasting at this one of the largest supply chain trade shows in all of North America throughout its 4 days in Atlanta. And then following up our time at the Georgia Manufacturing Summit, we also sat down with Verma and Jonathan Townsley, two procurement thought leaders, where they talked about all the things that procurement in 2020 is doing to change and improve organizations that may not have been taking place even as little as 10 years ago. So fascinating conversation there.
Really interesting to talk about procurement as really impactful to an enterprise, because I don't think people think of it that way a lot, but these two cats are powerhouses. We also talked with Karan Agrawal, who was a Bright Future Award winner at the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards last year, and unbelievably living up to his title at Dell now. Came back to visit us. Obviously, he was happy to be back home in Atlanta. Was talking about a lot of his favorite restaurants. And look, I think that's an important aspect of what we do. We learn about these people, not just about the businesses that they're in, but also the thoughts that they have on the industry as well.
You know, one last thing about Karan's interview is he talks about why supply chain is so perfect for millennials. And he also offers his best practices for folks that want to break into the space. I mean, to graduate from Georgia Tech and to go to a global strategy role at one of the leading companies, iconic companies in supply chain. It's great to have his insights and his perspective there. So I think our listeners will value that. So if
where can they hear us and see us?
I'm glad you asked. You can check us out a variety of places, wherever you get your podcasts from, whether it's Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Spotify, SoundCloud, or to make it even easier, you can go to supplychainnowradio.com, check out our library page. You can listen right there on the page, on the player, or any of the channels you get your podcast from. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your support. And Greg, look forward to another week of some of the thought leaders across the world of end-to-end supply chain.
We're recording all the people you want to hear right now.
That's right.